I've tried to take time away to reflect on that loss to Galatasaray, and honestly, the more I think about it, the worse it feels. And one of the main questions I try to ask myself when I was watching that game, or in recent times, is what are we good at? Like, what is Liverpool's identity in this moment in time under Arne Slot? What kind of football are we trying to play? And the more I reflect on these questions, what will change to make sure that we can become a force again? I don't have answers for any of that, and that's where, you know, yes, there were many basic things that we did really poorly yesterday. Like, for example, Verts had a chance he should have scored. Ekitike wasn't when a 1v1 situation, he should have scored. But for me, the main underlying thing that I see in that performance, which I think probably epitomizes our season, is just the mentality. There just seems to be this mentality of almost like this casualness when it was an absolutely massive game for us, especially considering what we've done in the league. Like we need to do something special in Europe, and especially considering too the fact that we got the toughest draw in the FA Cup. So even the FA Cup now, let's be real, is looking very unlikely. I'm going to believe once the game comes around. But if I take off my Liverpool belief, and you know how much I support this team, like City are going to be favorites for that game. We have to be honest with that, right? So the FA Cup is looking unlikely. I'm just like, how did the team not come out and give it more than they gave? Or how is there not more, like, I don't know, it just felt, so much of that performance felt kind of casual. And when we got into those dangerous positions, and boy, did he feel like a basketball, just an open game, which usually always suits Liverpool. Like the way that I know people say Galatasaray away is tough, and it's true that it is a tough place to go. They haven't lost there in the Champions League this season, but when you actually have a look at the game, there was so much space, and we really could have hurt them. But again, it felt like we were so relaxed in a way where like we didn't take it as seriously as Galatasaray did, and that is wild to me when again you consider what's on this game and how important it is for our season. And I'm still going to believe that we can come back next week, but I'm more so thinking, let's say we get through Galatasaray, and if it's PSG next round, let's just say, because they're probably the favorites over Chelsea, let's say in the quarterfinals, like if you don't take your chances against a PSG and you give them as many chances as we gave Galatasaray, they're going to hurt you. And I'm just depressed thinking about like and seeing what so many people that I speak to, Liverpool fans around me, just wanting the season to end, and that's so sad. Like, we're supposed to be so hyped for every single Liverpool game. We are, you know what I mean? And that doesn't always mean results. It doesn't always mean results. But here's the big problem, and why I think there's huge frustrations in this past week where, or at least, these last three games, we lost to Wolves in the league, we lost to Galatasaray in the Champions League, where I think there's huge frustrations, and I feel it, is the fact that, we obviously went on this huge losing run this season, and then we started to stop the bleeding. And even though we played definitely boring, safe football, we did stop that. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you play boring football like that to stop the bleeding, I get it. At the time, I was like, this is what's needed for us to get back on track. But the problem is now this is the business end of the season. This is where it all matters. And what we're seeing now in the last two, or like the recent two crucial games in Wolves and Galatasaray, is we're still playing that like slow, indecisive football, and the results aren't even aligning. So like when you have that mix, you have nothing. You have nothing to look forward to. And that's why I see more and more Liverpool fans just saying they want the season to end. And that's not right. Like, I know some people we're saying that maybe the expectations were too high this season because Liverpool won the league last year and we signed so many players and it meant so many changes to our team. But I think many Liverpool fans, it's not even about saying like, oh, we needed to win the Premier League, the Champions League this season. It's also just, it's not right that many fans are not excited for the games because of the style of football or so many different reasons. That's not good. That's not right, And so I think it might even go beyond just results or trophies. Like there is this thing of like, how Klopp's most famous saying was turning us from doubters to believers. I just think it's so sad this season how much I'm seeing people really turn into doubters. The amount of people I see turn into doubters. And I can't tell them that that's a wrong opinion to have. Everybody has a right to their opinion. And especially as a football fan, this is our escape from life. This is where we get to just enjoy and believe in our team. And if you doubt in your team, you have a right to doubt because you watch every single game and you care that much, But it's just so sad because there was so much belief within our fan base. There was so much excitement within our fan base. And think about the summer that we had, like the buzz that everybody had then, with the star players that we signed. But ultimately, for a whole host of reasons, it's just not working. It is not working, and it can't continue like this. It won't continue like this because you cannot have a player as good as Florian Wirtz, and this is why I'm not going to be reactionary like some people are saying this and that about Florian Wirtz. He's a top elite player. He proved it for years, and he's the best player for the German national team alongside Musiala. That's who he is. And the fact that he's come to Liverpool and in games like yesterday hasn't looked as good, or there's other players you can pinpoint and say what's happened to them. That for me tells me there's a real major underlying problem, that a lot of these players are looking so poor right now. If it was a few players, it would be different. But the way so much of our team right now just looks off it means, the person at the top, the Arne Slot, is going to have to, like I said, he's going to be the one that's going to be held responsible for that. And whether that's sooner than most people think it's going to be in the summer, we'll see what ends up happening. But the levels can't drop that much for the entire team. Because like I said, if the team plays really well, and let's say you have a few individual mistakes and you lose a game, I feel like that's different. Here it's like the level of our attack, the lack of pressing, the lack of quality in front of goal. Then you think about our midfield. Don't get me started about the midfield. Like, there's so many aspects right now that are so far off it that I can't even say, like, this is my most concerning part. Is I go back to that question where I started this video. What are we good at? And I'm real worried because I'm not so sure I can answer that question. And remember, usually our ethos under Klopp was you want to be the most difficult team to play against. That was the mentality. Most difficult team to play against. And again, I don't want to compare Klopp to Slot. I don't want to compare that. It's more the mentality. It doesn't have to be that exactly, but when I think about our mentality, what are we good at? I struggle to answer that question, and that's a major concern. That's a major concern because, it would be the most depressing thing if, after the signings we made and the season we had last campaign, for us to look at this season like there's nothing to look forward to. I can't be like that. I'm still going to look forward to, obviously, Galatasaray next week, and I'll believe we can have a comeback. But when I think about can we genuinely win the FA Cup or the Champions League this season, that game yesterday felt like a big blow for anybody that believed. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, I see so much of the fan base doubting, and like I said, they absolutely have a right to doubt. That's just the emotional feeling that you have, and the feeling you have watching this team week in, week out, or right now every 3-4 days. So it's sad times. It's sad times because, again, the fan base is so divided, and you understand why, and it's just, that's not what you want to see from Liverpool. You know what I mean? Because we all love this club so freaking much. And this weekend, I'm already seeing memes because obviously the energy around Liverpool is so low right now. But then you think about Spurs, who we're facing this weekend. Bro, we better win that game. Imagine the reaction if we don't beat Spurs on Sunday at Anfield. Oh my goodness. If we don't beat Spurs, bro, it's about to be bad. But yeah, Rio has to start for that game, by the way. Because that Spurs defense is vulnerable, and we need someone like Rio who's gonna bring that fearlessness and bring a bit of that cutting edge in the final third or something different, because like I said, that game against Galatasaray was another one where I look at our front three and I look at Galatasaray's front three, and one looks so much better than the other, even though we know the quality Like, imagine our front three was Verts, Ekitike, and Salah. On paper, that should be unbelievable. You know what I mean? Because we all know their quality individually. And yet on that pitch, they looked worlds apart. Like I said, our front three and Galatasaray's front three. So it is just... It's really tough to take. It's really tough to take when you look at the reality and not just the stats. When you look at the reality of the performance and the lack of quality all over the pitch. So, guys, I wish I could have made a more positive video today. But I also, we need to look at the reality and it's really difficult times. What's for sure is they won't last very long. That's why we're very lucky as Liverpool fans. Now, at least I'm hoping in terms of there will be change to come. If Slot doesn't miraculously turn this around, I think this season there will be change. You know what I mean? And we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, I wonder again, how can we find the faith right now? How can we find the faith? I will have it, you best believe, next game, because that's always how I am. But right now, I ask myself that question. And I'm sure many of you guys are asking yourselves that question too. So let me know how you guys are feeling in the building. And as always, thank you for your support. And you best believe we'll be back with the daily videos on here now that I'm back in the setup. Hopefully more positive videos, because I hate making ones like these. And like I said, the energy around the club being that people aren't excited for the next game or aren't excited for the rest of the season. That's not right. You know what I mean? But it's a reality. So anyways, guys, I will see you in the next one. Thanks again. You'll never walk alone. Ciao.